Good morning, good morning, good morning. Merry stupid o'clock, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels. We're going back to the horrible world known as the JRC, but first, the real life, bitch. Alright, you fucking corporate bastards. I get it that Black Friday is nuts. I've worked on the phones a good majority of my life. I get it. But most companies are not going to make you work from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. at fucking night. Are you all on crack? Do you enjoy having employees that are sleepless show up the next day? Do you enjoy not getting profits on the following day, which is, fucking Super Saturday, because you can't be asked to give us enough hours? What about the fact I know you fired a bunch of people? And now, therefore, instead of hiring new people or calling the old ones back, you are making the ones still there work way more than they should. It's ridiculous. So, where this is coming from is, yeah, great, I get Thanksgiving off. 3-day weekend, woohoo! But then, Black Friday, they have me working from 7 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock at night. No, they did not give me even a second meal. Here's another bitch, by the way. If you're going to work me an additional 5 hours, why are you just giving me one extra measly 15-minute break? I'm working till 8. I need to fucking eat dinner. Mother of God. Retail, particularly phone retail, or phone customer service on Black Friday, is a special level of hell, folks. Especially when you're goddamn autistic and it's already draining as fuck to just do your normal 8 hours a day. When you've got me working, let's see here, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fucking hours in a single goddamn day, then expect me to get up at ass crack of dawn the next day and do it again? That's insane. That's insane. Now, last time, they let me switch those hours to a day that I was off, which is infinitely more logical. But no, it's Black Friday. I'm not allowed to push it off to one of the days that I'm off. I have to do it all and then suck it up and go back in at ass crack of dawn the next day. I'm more than slightly pissed. And next time they'd be like, well, how do you feel about us? I don't know. Maybe don't work me for a 12-hour fucking shift. No warning. No extra 30 minutes so I can eat dinner. No nothing. You really expect me just to survive a fucking lunch off of a 12-hour shift? Anyways, the life of retail fucking sucks. And I wouldn't have to be working it. I could be actually working in my degree if wasn't an ableist world and people would actually be willing to hire me. But yeah, you know how that goes, right? Okay, bitch, over. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It's written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals for the JRC's quote-unquote behavior modification program. The JRC doesn't want you reading this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit. They did not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused. So you know the drill, folks. Please read that article and share on all your social media. You also got NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are crowdfunding, folks, in case the JRC actually has the balls to see through with their threat. We also have the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri, that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 claims, allegations, and civil lawsuits leveled against it, all of which has thus far been substantiated by the Missouri Department of Social Services, that include sodomy and rape, sexual assault, child abuse, starvation, and child trafficking, and that's just for starters. We've got one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor who still lives on the premises with full access to the boys, up on multiple, again, substantiated claims of sexual assault and rape of the boys there and is now eyeballing prison time. We have Eric Schmidt, who basically lied to the faces of the survivors of this hellhole, now sitting in his cushy office in Washington, and it's up in air as to who the hell is going to take up the baton after his departure. And we got a governor ate up on stupid and on a power high. So please share all those articles on your social media. Don't forget to sign and share the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. Got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, as well as always, including Hoya's massive archive on the subject, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet, a small clip from the 2002 incident undergone by Andre McCollins. We also have the templates and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judgeberg Center Down petition. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of peoples with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you do got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and we talk about dark subjects. If your child is 16 and under and they're watching this channel, please, parental supervision is advised. Trigger warning, we are about to listen to the mad ravings of a lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear ableism, gaslighting, victim blaming, and all other kinds and forms of abuse apologia. You're going to see multiple appeals to authority, nonsensical in their scope. You're going to hear a whole bunch of lies, such as the research backs us when what they're touting is the research done by their own clinicians. Conflict of interest much? So just be prepared for that. It is 4:56. I'm obviously pissed off, and I haven't even had my second cup of coffee yet. So if I stumble over my words or I curse up a storm, my apologies in advance. I can't help it. I was raised by veterans and truck drivers, all right? I'm sure it shows. All right. School administrators who claim to be able to successfully treat all forms of disorders without aversives simply expel the children they cannot treat. Lie. First off, school administrators never claim that. Matthew, doctor, seriously. Matter of fact, most administrations, even Rivendell, will tell you that they cannot indeed successfully treat all forms of disorders without aversives because every school is different. There is no one size fits all. When are you going to get that through your head, doctor? Would you recommend the treatment for cancer for every single disease out there? Would you recommend chemo for the flu, for COVID, for smallpox, for chickenpox? Would you use it chemotherapy for all different kinds and forms of illness? No, of course not. That's just stupid. That's called bad medicine. You cannot at all treat all disabilities the same. They are different as night and fucking day. Okay? No school administrator that I know, yes, even of the private schools for people with disabilities, do not make such claims. That's a lie. Matter of fact, this is why they set up tours. And meetings with these schools beforehand so that they can figure out whether or not the child would be a good fit for that specific program, or whether they should take a look at some of the other options out there. But what all these schools do, this is the one tiny little kernel of truth in this statement, is they do not torture the fucking students. Novel idea, right? Doctor. I know you somewhere in there, Dr. Israel. You've got to be smarter than this. I don't have a doctor's degree, and I'm smarter than this. This is one of those big statements that doesn't hold up to scrutiny, because it only makes sense that one school is not going to specialize in each and every single disability and all the myriad of treatments available for it. Who the hell do you think can afford that? Especially those who are up on state funding. Please spare me the bullshit. As far as, will they just expel the children they cannot treat? For fuck's sake, dude. For fuck's sake. What you're talking about are public schools. Public schools and schools that cater to particular disabilities are not the same creature. Public schools, especially when it comes to special ed programs, are not well funded. They're not well staffed. They're not well resourced either. A lot of these teachers are paying for things literally out of their own fucking salary. Okay? They do not have the time, the resources, or the money to become a specialist in every single fucking disability that's out there. Okay? They have to think about all the other students in the room, plus this individual, right? It's a fucking setup for disaster, especially if one of the students have autism, okay? Especially if there's an autistic in the room. But they just expel them because they cannot treat them. They can barely fucking treat the kids that they do have in class. Doctor, where are you? Let's not play fast and loose here with reality, okay? Jesus. Moving on. Some of these children and their parents ultimately find JRC and are astounded to see the miraculous improvement in behaviors, education, and health that are possible with just a very small amount of aversive interventions are added. Yeah, but you don't do a small amount of aversives, do you, doctor? That is a lie. When you have things on Jennifer Masampa's behavioral sheet, that is literally along the lines of, if they make an unapproved sound with their mouth, they get shocked. That's not minimal, is it? If someone clears their throat because they have a cold and they have mucus draining down the back of their throat, and yes, when that happens, coming from me, you have to do that a lot. A lot. And you didn't shock that student for it, that's not minimal. When you shock them every time they stand up for longer than 3 seconds, that's not minimal. You are giving them those shocks constantly, all the time. And do not fucking insult my intelligence by telling me that even 15 milliamps, not even talking about the 45, but that 15 milliamps is a fucking bee sting. Are you on crack? Again, the common police taser, 3 to 5 milliamps, is strong enough to drop a full-grown 200 and something pound solid muscle man. You have these on fucking kids. Do not insult my intelligence, okay? Can we also talk about the fact that these police tasers are not designed to actually hurt people or cause pain, whereas the GED, by Dr. Matthews Israel's own words, are designed to hurt them. Again, doctor, don't insult my intelligence. Good God. And I love this. Improvements in their behaviors. Yes, you can rule somebody through fear and terror. And they may stop their behaviors for a time. But again, what happens when we remove the threat? 2 things. Well, actually 3. 3 things happen. The underlying issue has not been dealt with. It's still there because it was never dealt with. You were too busy treating the symptoms and not the illness, so to speak, for lack of a better analogy. You were too busy treating the byproduct instead of finding out what was causing it. And why do they do this, folks? Because these idiots think they already know what causes it. And the reasoning is complete garbage. And it was garbage ever since fucking Dr. Levitt came up with his fucking Pavlov bullshit that is ABA. Okay? So that problem, the triggering issue, remains undealt with. Number 2, you remove that threat. What happens? Because issue was never dealt with, the behaviors come back when you're not longer under threat. Which plays into number 3. Because you sat there and you fucking tortured, starved, and traumatized these kids into compliance for years, they now have post-traumatic stress on top of that. All that enormous level of stress, with all the psychological issues brand new that are now on top of it, it causes number 4, regression. Or as we like to call it, burnout. Burnout is physical, it's psychological, it is a complete fucking shutdown. Complete shutdown. It's physical, it's mental, it's a horrific fucking state to be in. I speak of experience here. People like Dr. Israel will use that as an argument. They'll use burnout that they fucking caused as an argument as to why they should remain on the shocks. Because look what happened when we took them off. Yeah, you fucking caused it, you idiot. That's how abuse works, especially if you're fucking autistic. Again, I speak from motherfucking experience here. When that threat is removed, All four happen. All fucking four, and they're all related to each other. Yet these bastards would say, well, if you just let us put us on the shock device, what, you'll fucking make it worse? Yeah, so what does this tell us? That means overall, it is actually not successful in treating behaviors. Successful would mean that they would never have to use that goddamn device again on the kid. That it's become so minimal, the behaviors, that they are able to do what I do, which is lead their own independent lives as much as possible. That's not what happens, though. What happens is what I just described, and has been described in other ways by every single survivor of this place that has come forward so far. I don't call that a success, doctor. Ruling out of fear doesn't actually solve the problem. Moving on. Education. I'm glad you mentioned that, doctor. Because, as a matter of fact, when New York did their independent investigation into this place, what they found was you did not even come close to meeting state requirements. Matter of fact, I've come to find out that you don't even meet the requirement for high school graduation. And many of the people who go outside of your school actually have to go and obtain a GED for themselves because your school do not meet the basic fucking federal requirements in order for them to receive a fucking diploma. So glad you brought up education because yours is subpar, and that's being kind. Let's talk about health. You killed 6 fucking students. 6 kids are dead. You want to talk about health? You starve kids. You want to talk about health? You are torturing kids. One of them to the point of fucking catatonia. You shocked 2 kids over 71 times to the point where they got fucking 2nd-degree burns. What about Linda Corneliusen and all the horrific bruises that was found in her autopsy all over her body? What about the fact that you tied a person to a bed with fucking belts and a helmet on who died of asphyxiation? Belts leave welts, folks. I hate to be the rhyming there, but you get my point. You cannot torture them and to the point that you make them fucking scream in horror and pain, begging for it to stop, and care that you give 2 shits about their health, either physical or psychological. Now, let's move on here. If required as supplement to an intensive behavioral and educational program based almost exclusively on rewards or other procedures. Lie. That's a lie, Dr. Israel. First of all, torture is not a fucking supplement. It's just fucking torture. You're using these vague medical terms to make everything seem hunky-dory fails when you look at the full scope of the horror of it. Your intensive behavioral procedures is the stuff of nightmares. You are literally having staff jump out of nowhere, grab these poor fucking kids around the fucking throat or by their shirt collar and threatening them. That's not intensive behavioral, that's psychotic. That is damn near sociopathic behavior. Your educational program does not meet state or federal requirements, as have been noted by survivors and the many parents who did not drink your Kool-Aid. Okay? As far as your rewards are literally, they earn every single bite of food. It is the most dehumanizing bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. Food is a right. It's a human right to not fucking starve to death. It's not a reward. The few rewards you do give is the shit you should be using to incentivize a 5-year-old, not a fucking 21-year-old kid. Oh, you did well today. Go enjoy 5 minutes in the ball pit. I'm fucking 20. Right? Right? Your rewards and your punishments do not match up either. Extreme, horrific consequences if they don't meet your romanticized, non-existent idea of normal. If they do tend to meet it for that day, maybe they just got a staff member that likes them, they get to do some meaningless, childish bullshit. Some of these kids are fucking adults. You would think that they would match that with adult-like rewards. But since the world likes to infantilize people like me, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, right? What are those other positive procedures, by the way? That's something I would like to know, because notice he doesn't go into detail, does he? Are you trying to implicate that you use positive behavioral reinforcement? Because if you are, allow me to direct you back to your response to New York back in 2006, where you said you didn't even know anything about positive behavioral reinforcement. Do you all ever read your own bullshit that you put out previously? It would help you keep your lies straight. Parents are ecstatic to see their children removed from devastating side effects and drugs, and to see their children receive an education as well as effective treatment for their behavior disorders. Makes me wonder though, do you think those parents would be happy to see what you get up to behind closed doors? Do you think they would be happy seeing you make your kid earn every single bite of food? Do you think they would be happy seeing you throw their kid on a 4-point board and shocking them over 31 times while they're screaming and begging for help? Cheryl McCollins didn't like it. A lot of people didn't like it. Yeah, I think Linda Corneliuson's parents were grateful. What about the first young gentleman who died? Or the 6 others? What about the gentleman's family who committed suicide because of you people? Yeah, I don't think they're thrilled. Do you? No, I didn't think so. The parents who are ecstatic are the same type of parents who like to believe in the other lies the medical model throws out. When you're not there all the time, when you maybe get to see your kid maybe a day out of a few months, when you do not get to see what's happening behind closed doors, but when you get to visit, their behaviors are gone and they're smiling, you're buying what they're selling you. And a lot of times you'll find parents who are happy to buy the lie. Maybe out of desperation. Maybe some parents just don't give a shit. Because I hate to be that person, but let me hit you with a little bit of reality here. Not every parent should be a fucking parent. There are some individuals who are just happy to get rid of us. Okay? That's just a fact. Not every parent has their child's best interest at heart. And we got to get out of this infant stage in society where we glorify all parents. Because the fact of the matter is, you got some piece of shit parents out there in the world who don't give two shits about their kids. And if their kids are not acting as the status symbol that they want them to, they are more than happy to discard and throw them away with doing the minimum bare effort if they're no longer embarrassed with their kid anymore. Because guess what? I've seen it. I've worked in the field. So this isn't really a good argument. You can't really use those parents as judges because those parents aren't there all the time. They're barely there at all. All they see is what the JRC wants them to see. And they make damn sure that the kid behaves exactly the way that they want them to, or you better fucking bet there's going to be horrific consequences later if they didn't. I don't call it a good judge of their kid's happiness if the kid is masking like fuck because there's a staff member 3 feet back with a remote control with their fucking picture on it that can be used to hurt them at any time. Okay? Please spare me the bullshit. Please spare me the bullshit. So, what are we learning this morning? Other than the JRC smokes crack. Dr. Israel believes that you should have a treatment that is able to treat all forms of disorders, and that it should include aversives. He doesn't believe in actual, real medical science that dictates that each disability is different and therefore each treatment should be different. He also believes it's a miraculous improvement when someone stops their behaviors, not because said behaviors were dealt with properly, but due to the fact of being ruled through fear. The kids are basically become mindless, emotionless, fucking robots and shut down their feelings just to be able to fucking survive. But it's miraculous. They call their education wonderful in spite of the fact that they do not meet federal standards. So much so that these kids, after leaving this hellhole, actually have to go out on their own to get GEDs to be able to go to fucking college. This place is not accredited. If nothing else will deter you, parents, let that sink in. This place is not accredited. Okay? Then they want to talk about health. Matthew, let's talk about health. Let's talk about the health of the 6 dead fucking kids that you're responsible for. Let's talk about the 2nd-degree burns on the 2 kids who were shocked over 71 times. Let's talk about the health of Andre McCollins after you shocked him into fucking catatonia. Let's talk about the individual who was shocked so much that she lost feeling on the inside of her leg. Please spare me your bullshit. Let's talk about the fact that you make these kids earn every single bite of food, and that dinner can be a 2-hour process where if they don't perform like a fucking performing circus seal, they can have to force to be thrown their whole dinner away. Yeah. And they know damn well that those kids would rather starve than eat their liver-powdered mash. We're autistic. We are hypersensory aware. I would rather and would allow myself to starve rather than eat that. But they do it as well, we did offer food. They just refused. And they'll use that as another excuse to punish you. Great, right? He wants to use words like supplements to lull you into a false sense of security. Punishment isn't a supplement. Punishment is just punishment. Torture is just torture. You can't dress it up. To use one of my favorite analogies that I just learned, you can't stick a flower in an asshole and call it a vase. Okay? Their behavioral modification that they're talking about here, intense behavioral, is literally staff jumping at these kids, grabbing them violently, so shoving them hard into a wall. This is one incident with a knife like this, holding them like this, and screaming at them, "You want to eat it? You want to eat it? You want to eat it?" It's not miraculous. It's inducing trauma. It's ruling through fear. Which, as we know, doesn't work in the long term, does it? It's not targeting the cause of the behavior, it's just forcing trauma on us. They talk about rewards and positive procedures, but they never tell you that they are not even remotely close to being age appropriate. Not even close to being age appropriate. So yeah. Then they tell them, but they're happy to get their kids off the drugs. Do you think they'd be so happy if they actually saw what you did to their kid day to day? Let's be honest now. Let's reason. You and I. We're going to reason. We're going to use our logic here. If these parents were able to see what JRC is doing to their kids every single day, do you really think they would be so intensely happy? A good majority of the parents would not be. In fact, those parents might actually prefer to take those kids the hell out of there, take them back to the doctors, start talking to the doctors, and work out a proper regimen of pharmaceutical drugs married with therapy and logic than they would to see their child being tortured every day. As far as receiving an education, we're the only one who can educate these kids. You're so full of shit. You are so full of shit. How'd you educate Jennifer Masumba? Because she's told all of us, look, it's a triangle. Good for you. You can recognize a triangle. You infantilized her. You treated her like she was stupid. You did not give her a proper age-appropriate education. She had to go out and do that herself after she got out of your hellhole. She now is a part of Mensa. She did that in spite of you, not because of you. Majority of those folks who do end up well educated once they come out of that school, JRC loves to claim them as successes. But the matter of fact is, if you find those individuals and talk to them online, they will tell you they did that in spite of JRC, not because of them. They will tell you that the JRC did nothing but fucking further traumatize them, worse than they already were before they even came in that school. So again, parents, I know you might be screaming at me, well, what other answers are out there? You don't know. You don't know my kid. There are other answers. First off, again, I've worked in the field. There are many answers out there, many different programs. And unfortunately, a good majority of the doctors who quote-unquote specialize on us don't really specialize in us. All they know is ABA, special ed, and places like the JRC. Institutions. Let's call them what they are, shall we? They don't know about the other programs out there that have been developed. So, I know those parents don't got a lot of time during this time period, but you've got to do the research. No one knows your child better than you know your child. Is this really going to help them? No. Read, research, look at these different programs and what they offer. Find one that fucking fits. You cannot, and I cannot emphasize this enough, you cannot depend on the doctors in the school system alone to advise you. These people are not experts in spite of their degrees. You got to do your research. You got to reach out to the autistic community. You got to reach out to the caseworkers in your area. Hell, reach out to fucking people first. ARC, these places that do actually specialize in exactly this. Exactly this. And my number one recommendation is always going to be the Centers for Independent Living. Because they don't just have resources on person-centered planning, they also have resources on other forms of treatment as well. Reach out to, out here it's Burl. You got to reach out to these places and see what else is out there. You can't just depend on the original diagnoser and the school systems, okay? You got to look at the reality of what these poor special education programs are up against in public schools. And you've got to realize these doctors, they specialize in diagnosis, and they are only taught about one way of doing things. Okay? Do your research. I cannot emphasize that enough. One size fits all will never work. There is no instant fix-it when it comes to autism or any other developmental disability. It takes time, it takes research, it takes effort, but it's worth it. Better to take the time. Better actually reaching out to others than have a child come back as a shell as a human being after going through this place. I'm going to close on that one. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time, and as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.